Hello and welcome to the Drivers Room. We're here with the Acelith Design Endurance Championship Season 2, Round 2, Tier 1. And we're here at Alsace at the Village Circuit, going the normal way round in the Group 3 machinery after a cracking start to the season that saw Bubo Lubo / Rockboy, depending on what name you go, take his first ever win, followed by Spooky Lukey, who's currently not on the grid, and then TX3 Jack on the podium. So we're here at the Alsace track. It's a very wide flowing circuit. It's a little bit like the old Eiger Norwood track from GT5 and GT6, but it's a little bit wider, a little bit faster, and it's got a few characteristic corners like the horseshoe at the bottom of the circuit. So we're going to jump on board now with our race winner from last time out, who is currently in the 5th position on track in the Rockstar Racing Beetle. This is the car change that he made this season, which is good news for him because this car seems to be working really well here at Alsace. Rockboy did pick this car specifically for the track, and so he is definitely doing well from it. A little bit wide there out of the turn for left-hander, and a wide again. So obviously a cracking start to the season for Bubo Lubo, taking that opening win. Hopefully he'll be able to build on that today, looking fast. Spooky Lukey, who came second, isn't in the race today. So we'll jump over to 3rd place TX3 Jack, who's currently just stepped off the circuit. But we'll get a little view of his Mercedes AMG GT3 car. This is always a strong car at this track. It's got good power, good torque, good traction out of the corners. So we expect him to do well as the race goes through, and should be strong in qualifying, as we've got a weird split screen issue going on there, so I'm going to hold the view there. We've also got, looking at the standings, we've got Jaggernaut on track in the Nissan GTR. A big slide there from Jaggernaut. So the Frenchman's got the Nissan GTR, of course Godzilla. This car is always going to be strong here. Got great top end, great acceleration from that turbocharged V6 engine. And we should expect good things. This car currently holds the lap record in the other way round in Group 3, held by the ever-missed F1, who sadly hasn't come back to us for some time. Since Season 5 of 2019, but this is a fantastic car for this track. If you can make it work and if you can make the tyres last, it's a very strong car. Moving down the grid, we've currently got Sir Bottlejob, fresh off of a very impressive 7th place, in the first round. You may question why I say 7th place was impressive. Well, you have to remember that race 1 was basically a 2-tier race. You had those in the VGT Group C class, and you had those in the LMP hybrids. And very much a case of the LMP hybrids having a massive disadvantage due to their lack of straight line speed. So Bottlejob was the 2nd highest LMP hybrid finisher, just behind Kuska, and that was a really good race. No mistakes, really good consistency, and he'll be trying to build on that for this season. As Spooky Lukey does now enter the room a little bit late, very close to qualifying starting, but we'll get down to Spooky Lukey shortly, who's also in the Jaguar that Bottlejob is driving. This car is very good in a straight line, very balanced car, not the best of turn-in, but should be fairly good throughout this race. Great top speed as well. So now we're back with Gadget, of course our series owner, and the man who brought what was formerly known as Drek, now is of course ADEC, sponsored of course by Acelith Design. And he is in the VW Beetle as well, and that livery of course is very similar to that Rockboy, Rockboy being Gadget's ex-Team Motion Blur teammate. He's a little bit off the front relying pace at the moment, but we should expect to see him go better in the race. Of course, Gadget is a master of strategy and very good on his tyres. So I'm just going to jump up to Blue Racer now. Blue Racer in the ferocious Lamborghini Huracan GT3. This car will be spectacular in qualifying and on the first lap, but it's all going to come down to how well Blue can keep those tyres, especially the rear tyres, from wear. There's a lot of places you can accidentally just slide the rear of the car out, and after a while that becomes extraordinarily feisty to deal with. Of course, X-Series Tier 1 champion C.S. Smith ran this car for some time in 2020, took a few pole positions in it but never took a race win, and that's because the tyre life in this car is a little bit ferocious, as we see Berkey Baby having a little spin there in the background. So we're gonna skip over to Spooky Lukey now, the man who very much should have won the first race but unfortunately made a small error and therefore didn't quite get the result he should have probably felt like he should have done. Made a couple of errors, hit the wall a couple of times and cost himself time and the positions required to win. Of course, in this Jaguar GT3, a very popular choice in the current kind of meta. It's a very balanced car, like I said before, and we'll have to see how the pace goes for Spooky tonight, but he's probably not feeling as confident as he did last week. We'll jump now to Muller CJ in his trusty Aston Martin, this car he's used for many moons. It's a great car, very much one of those cars which you can use time and time again at many tracks and do pretty well if you like its handling style, which is unfortunately very understeery. So if you're a fan of oversteer, this car isn't going to be for you. However, it's got immense torque thanks to that V12 engine, fantastic straight line speed, and Muller is a big fan of it. Muller had a pretty nothing race last time out, finishing P10 in the standings in the TSO 50 Toyota, and just didn't quite have the sort of pace required to get up the field. We'll now look at Ronin, who's doing a big slide as qualifying is about to start. Also in the Mercedes AMG, Ronin is always extremely fast, and we're going to start qualifying just now on board with Gadget, who will be the first out on track most likely. We're just going to get hold of Ronin again and go back on board very soon. So here we go, coming out of the pits, and we're going to ride on board with Ronin from the bumper cam. So Ronin, of course, had a bit of an up and down race last time out in the Peugeot 908 LMP non-hybrid, and that's why he was so quick. It was a non-hybrid LMP, had the top speed, but unfortunately a few messy incidents cost him time, positions, and also a couple of post-race penalties, which cost him a minute worth of time and dropped him down from, I believe, 6th place all the way down to 9th. So he'll be hoping to make amends for the early issues, and we'll be hoping to get back here at Alsace. Just excuse me for one moment. Just having a few technical checks as we go on board, as they're on their outlap, of course. Not quite getting the same responses I was expecting. Just give me just a moment, viewers. We should have everything we need. Okay, so back on board with Ronin. And we're going to head down towards this tricky final chicane now. We're going to commentate Ronin's first lap on board. Always a good qualifier, very fast driver. So here we go. Nicely tucking it through that final corner on the power, well up to 3rd gear. As we head down the short front straight up towards the right-hander at turn 1. This is one of those, a touch of the grass on the way in, trying to maximise the road. You want a late apex here, get on the power hard as you send yourself uphill towards the kink of turn 2 into turn 3, the tight cambered left-hander. So we're heading towards, sorry, right-hander through the left-hand kink now, braking just as you get towards the banner, and that is a nice line through there. Kept it tight, now runs it, keeps it tight on exit, runs it through the fast left-hander. Well, it's all about balancing the throttle, especially in the Mercedes, where the car does like to understeer a little bit. As we head towards another cambered right-hander, then through the kink at turn 6 into 7. This is a blind braking point into the apex. Nice line through there. Run it wide, maximise the track width. This road is very into the horseshoe now at turn 8. This one's all about patience, staying up on that wide line, then ducking it back down to maximise the straight as you go through the kink at 9 into the turn 10 hairpin. This is the tightest corner on the track. Very slow, very difficult. You've got to brake just as you're coming through. A little bit late there. You've got to brake just before you head through the kink to make sure the car's settled. Then the turn 11, tricky corner because it's uphill but also off camber. You can get sucked out onto that grass, and then we head down towards turn 12 and turn 13 for this downhill off camber section. This kind of slow but open chicane. Switch back on yourself, get on the power hard, mind the wall on the exit, and that is a lap of the track. Currently it is a Gadget from Bottle and Ronin a little bit further down there with a 151.8 as we see Blue into the 50s already. Great lap there from Blue as TX3 Jack has come out of the pits. I wonder if he caused himself some mischief early, but Jaggernaut in the GTR. I said this car would be quick. A 150.4. Fantastic first lap there by Jaggernaut. And we'll ride on board with the French driver. Jaggernaut, the one-time winner in Tier 1 at Suzuka last year in Season 5. In the, I believe, the 08 GTR. And he'll be pleased with how that's going so far. Just bringing up a couple of sections now. Here we go. Sorry about this, chaps. So we are on board with Jaggernaut. So that was a great first lap, and we'll take a quick look at the standings just to see if we can see how the live timing stood up. Definitely looked like Blue. Yeah, Blue was the quickest through Sector 2. But much slower than Jaggernaut in Sector 1, and they were very similar through Sector 3. However, it was Bottle Job with the best Sector 3, using that torque of the Jaguar. It's also got very pliable throttle. It's not like the Huracan, which is very spicy with its V10, and also the twin turbos of that GTR. But on board with Blue, he's in a bit of traffic now of Ronin. Will that have slowed him up on that lap? Oh, a big slide there from Blue Racer. He's not going to be able to do that in the race. We see any improvements for anyone on this second lap? No. And like I say, a mistake or a bad lap there from Blue. 2.5 seconds off his best pace. We'll head back down the field a little bit with some of the other drivers. And we'll stop off with Berkey Baby in the Aston Martin. This car is, like I said with Muller, very much a torquey, high top speed, high acceleration car, but it's not quite as good on the handling front. It's when it comes to the front end at mid to high speed. It's okay at low speed, but of course you've got to turn that big lump of a V12 into the corners. It's all about getting on the throttle comfortably. As we head through probably the hardest corner on the track for the Aston Martin, the slightly off camber left-hander there, and he's about 3/10 off his best through Sector 1. Down in 7th position at the moment, ahead of Bubo Lubu, of course, who's our season leader at the moment. Points leader. He's stuck in traffic. And TX3 Jack is currently the driver who's at the back of the grid in 11th position, but he hasn't yet set a lap. But this doesn't look like a particularly good lap, and that was wide on the exit there. Didn't get the best of runs, should have run it in a little bit wider, and there's a bit of a train forming here behind TX3 Jack, and he's gone wide, and that's going to be that lap ruined. He'll be jumping back to the pits, so we'll jump forward to another driver. So talking of drivers, we're going to jump to DJ Rice in the Toyota Supra. Always a strong car at pretty much every track, thanks to some interesting balance of performance by the game. So far, it's Ronin in P5, just jumping ahead of Ricey. And everyone back in the pits for more tyres. As we head back through into the final couple of quarters. Sorry for this quick delay, just posting up one quick thing. Okay, that is the stream link posted in the Discord. So, DJ Rice, like I said, had a great qualifying last time out. Took his first Tier 1 pole in the Mazda LM55, which was admittedly the strongest car at the track, but there were 3 other drivers in that car. And Ricey really put in a fantastic lap to get himself onto pole. He will win a little bit awry at the end end of the first lap, or middle of the first lap, and caught damage and had to battle on for some time before he got to repair the car. But battled back up to a strong 5th position, I believe. Maybe 4th position. 4th position for Ricey. And he'll be looking to capitalise again. 6th position on the grid currently as it stands, but of course there's a lot of people still to come. So we're going to jump quickly back up to Jagannat, who's looking still very good out there in first place. 150.401 in the GTR Godzilla. And this car, of course, was very fast the other way around. That's actually quite a similar lap time, I believe, to the lap record going the other way round. I believe that was in the 150s as well. Well, see if we can find that piece of information for you, actually, because it'd be very interesting to see how, after a year, 18 months since we last came here in this class of car, like I say, was the other layout, but it's still interesting. Of course, you're still covering the same distance. It's just how some of the corners are going to go. But we'll have a look, see if we can find the lap records. Let's have a little look at that. And it is Blue Racer in the Huracan in second, who looks like he's had a slowish outlap, so he'll be on a lap now. Oh, a big wiggle! He's going to go off the track into the wall, and that is damage, and that really could happen in the race. It's such a difficult car to drive, and currently it's Bottle Job in P3 at the moment on the grid. A great lap, a 151.1, a really strong lap there. He's only a little bit down on himself. If he can set himself up against TX3 Jack there, who's having a horror show of qualifying, make sure he gets the slipstream out of this corner, make sure he doesn't go wide. Clips that apex a little bit, but gets away with it. And then just make sure he keeps it clean, but Jack's in the way again. I think Jack's clipped another, made another mistake. So he won't get that benefit of the slipstream up the hill, which you probably could have seen him gain a little bit. Maybe not quite the amount of time he's going to need to get into those 50s. But still a strong lap. Only 38 thousandths off his best. A really good, consistent pace showing there. Gadget up in P4. Probably one of his best qualifyings for some time. A really strong performance from Gadget, outshining his younger ex-teammate. So a very impressive showing from Gadget, who's had a couple of difficult seasons. First time out in the Beetle, a car that was very much chosen for this track. But a great job there so far by Gadget. And we'll take a quick look at the live timing, just to see if anyone's on a bit of a lap. But we'll let's just start another lap, of course. We'll we've seen so far, no one seems to be on a massively improved lap. Everyone seems to be kind of halfway through a lap. Let's see if Gadget improves. He's not up in the first sector and he is down in the second sector, so no improvement so far for Gadget. But only a tiny margin between himself and Gadget, between himself and Bottle Job. Towards the back of the grid, currently we've got TX3 Jack, who is yet to set a time, and there's not a lot of time left in the session. Of course, this is one of the quickest drivers in the field, and usually we'd be expecting him to have a great run. So we're going to go on board with Jack, who's got to really put it in. Oh, he's quickly paused. So we'll have to see what happened there. What's going to happen here? He's got to really bang in a lap, though. Otherwise he's going to be starting at the back, and that's always difficult to do and come forward. But yes, for comparison, actually I'm talking absolute rubbish because it's a 151.2 from F1. So actually we're smashing the lap record currently. So we'll have a new record for the other way round, let's say. That's very interesting because that was on the original qualifying settings, I believe. So sorry, the like-for-like qualifying settings. So a great increase in pace between a lot of drivers. Bubo has managed to jump up. We'll see where he is on the grid. He is currently P6, a little bit closer to his ex-team boss, with Ronin in P5, but we're going to go back down to JJ, or TX3 Jack, and see how he's doing. As we saw an improvement there from DJ Rice up to P5, pushing Ronin down. Only a tenth or so between himself and Gadget. Will he try and improve again? But this has been a great form from DJ Rice since he's come back up to Tier 1. He seems to not be making the mistakes as much as he did when he originally got pushed down. And a really fantastic job there by Rice. Get up to P5. He's a little bit down in the first sector, but he might be able to come back at it. We're going to quickly go back on board with TX3 Jack. Yeah, this is a clean lap at least, so we'll get a representative lap time. What will it be? Looks like it might be a 51, maybe a 52. He's shortening the track, and it is a 51 up to P3. So really showing that pace that he does have. He just hasn't so... There's a 50.7, so a fantastic lap there from Jack. He's just going to make sure he doesn't clip those walls so much in the race. Bottle has backed out of his final lap. So everyone is on their final laps now. On board with Gadget. Down to P5 now, on the third row of the grid. Tiny margin, but he's 3/10 down, so Bottle looks like he's probably safe. Take a quick look with Berkey, who is improving on his best. Got to find 2/10 up on Muller. Let's see if he can do so. The Muller has just improved a little bit, but not by a huge margin. So Berkey getting it nicely through that final corner. All the power very well. And runs it up towards the line. That's a 50, 51. Up to 10th on the grid. Just pipping Muller at the final post. I believe Muller has finished, so our qualifying order will be Jagannat taking pole with a 150.401 in the GTR. Fantastic lap. Blue Racer second. TX3 Jack on the soft. Blue Racer also moving over to the soft tyre for the race, so we're interested to see how those last. In my previous experience, I found the soft tyres can actually be less effective than you think. Due to the extra slip that you get, and Spooky Lukey has left the room. We'll have to see what happens there, as we may have lost some... Oh, everyone's leaving the room. This is interesting. Ah! We've had a network problem. The 150.1... Sorry chaps, this is just going to take a moment to fix. It looks like our room host Gadget334 has had a problem with their internet connection, so we'll have to restart the race based on that finishing order. Qualifying. Unfortunately, I hadn't yet had a look at the finishing order, so let's take a look, see what happened. I might be able to get that up on the stream in the window in case it was lost. So let's just skip through. I do apologise for this, viewers. Not quite as perfect a finish as we'd like, but we've got the top 8 there, and we've got 9, 10, and 11 there. So all is good. We will be able to have the grid reset properly. So I'm just going to... Sorry everybody, just doing a little bit of ordering just to make sure we know who should be where, so just be a little bit patient with us still, and we will get the order that we need back on screen in just a moment. Okay, sorry about that everybody, and hopefully the lobby will be back together just a moment, as we just see some random random rooms that I have available to view. Okay. I'm just hearing news that the qualifying lap time in Tier 2 was a massive 49.9, which is pretty incredible. But we're hearing some news from Rockboy and Jack in the chat that they weren't particularly pleased with their qualifying. I'd like to say, JJ, that you did a really good lap, actually, when you consider you only had one lap to get yourself up the grid. So it may not have been pole, but at least it was good enough to get up to P3, and that gives you a much better position in the race. Rockboy, yeah, I noticed you were stuck in traffic a couple of times. That's a real shame. You did look quick, but unfortunately that's the way the apples sometimes fall. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Let's say that instead. Makes more sense. But we're just going to see when we can get the lobby back up and running. It is kind of tempting to quickly step into Tier 2 or Tier 3 and see how they're going, but I think we'll leave it for now, as that would be a little bit distracting for our esteemed racers in those tiers. So we'll just wait for the everyone to get back. But yeah, will become clear soon, but definitely this is going to be a race all about tyre wear, looking after those front tyres. Thanks, Rob Boy. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Enjoying not having to have the stress of racing, just sitting back and enjoying and watching. I know you're not particularly pleased with how quali went, but I'm sure the Beetle will do you good in the race. Just keep your nose clean. You know, this is going to be a quite a long feeling race. There's quite a lot of laps, and it's really important to not kind of get down about qualifying, try and move forward in the race. But yeah, I'm good. I did chuck the RX Vision round here for 5 minutes or so. It was in the 51s on full tanks, so you know, that's what I could manage. I don't know where that's going to put me actually in the race, you know, if I were racing, but I did quickly chuck the RX Vision round just for a laugh, just to get a little bit of track knowledge. And hopefully we will be back in any minute. The new lobby is now open. Yep, Jagonet, that is definitely true. That was a bit of a scare, but the lobby is now open for anyone who's interested, and we can now see my the RX Vision that I would have been driving in Tier 1 this season. No, I don't know if it is the OP Group 3. If I'm honest, JJ, it wasn't that particularly quick in my hands. I like rotary engines, and so I wasn't really going for pace. But we are back. It was just kind of a car that felt kind of nice on the front of the car. Oh, hello. Good news, everybody. My virus and threat protection. No viruses. Make sure you get yourself some good virus software. Don't know what I'm doing here. Being a bit of a shill, doing it badly. Well, I don't know, JJ. There's been a lot of best Group 3s. I think the Supra probably still is the top of the Group 3s. Being that it now doesn't have terrible starting. Well, the RX Vision always has terrible starting. So I don't think it's actually that good a car, in my opinion. The Citroen that I was driving in Season 1 was actually still quicker over a short stint. The Mazda was better over a longer stint just because it's an FR. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but let's get everyone back on the grid. There's a bit of practice starting going on here. And very interesting that some drivers take part in this. Some drivers are practicing their race sort of battling in a pack. But now it comes down to who do we think is going to get the best start, and I think that could be Blue Racer. I don't know if they're back in the lobby yet, but yeah, they are. Blue Racer is probably my hot tip for getting the best start off the line, probably outstarting the Nissan of Jagonet. I think the mid-engine Huracan will be exceptional off the line, good through turn 1, good up towards. It's actually got quite good top speed, the Huracan. So it could be very good for a couple of laps, but the moment those rear tyres start to go off, definitely going to be a spicy race for Blue. I could actually see him firing it at a catch fence at some point tonight. So we'll see what happens. But looking forward to getting going, getting this race on the road. Definitely should be a good drive. Oh, all of the grass. Let's hope we are back with voice enabled. Let's just see. Yep, microphone should be back. Yay! Much better. We are back with voice. So, I'm sorry if anyone was not hearing what I was saying for the last however much time. I did actually just check down about what I thought was about 2 minutes ago to check that we still had audio, but unfortunately we did not. Audio is now back, and the race is literally about to start any minute. We've just been running around with some of the drivers on their final practice. So we will see how they all get on. But my driver to watch probably tonight is probably our pole sitter Juggernaut. Always a very consistent, strong driver. Hasn't had as many wins as you'd expect, as we are now getting underway. Blue, I think, will take the lead early, and TX3 TX3 Jack probably will be strong as we get ready for the race now. Lights are getting primed. Cars are on the grid in nice sunny Alsace. As we see our starting order. So, on pole we have Juggernaut. Expect him to do very well. Just making sure I remember all the buttons. P2 we have Blue Racer. And we are lights out, and like I said, it looks like Blue got a great start in the Huracan up the inside. Another great start there by the two cars behind the supercharged Jag, and Juggernaut's been pushed right out there, dropping down to 4th position. I wasn't expecting that. We're going to ride on board now with TX3 Jack. Blue Racer out front. We're going to ride from behind. And so Bottle Job up the inside. Will he go for the dive? No, JJ goes for a huge dive into turn 1. But Blue's on the inside. Bottle's up to T2, but he's on the grass. And a little bit of contact there from Jack. This is an absolute madness. We're going to jump back to the exterior view. Here we go as we head through the long left-hander. This is a tight field so far, and Juggernaut has fallen down to 6th position at the moment. Oh, a big dive there from Jack. This is very aggressive driving. Blue Racer out on the marbles and the dirt there as we're riding on board. But it is TX3 Jack with a strong set of moves. A little bit over-aggressive, you could say. But a good start. Blue Racer in P2. Bottle Job P3. Further back, Ronin's up to P4. Juggernaut in P5. And an absolute herd of cars behind him. P6 is Gadget. P7 Bubo. Spooky looking around the outside. Berkey Baby up in 9th position. Ricey having a terrible start in that Supra, which has never been great off the line. It used to be. It's got a bit better since it originally started. And we're having some interesting issues there. I think maybe Spooky and Bubo can't see each other. And that is going to cause for some interesting havoc. Yet those two cars are glued together. And that definitely means that we've got some network clash between those two drivers. Hopefully that won't cause an incident for anyone else. Back up the front, we've got TX3 Jack, who's not looking particularly fast at this point. And it's Ronin up to P3. We didn't see that. Let's see if we can get back a replay of what happened there. No, unfortunately we didn't get that. Let's see if we can get a little further back replay. What have we got here? So it looks like it was probably out of the uphill left. Bottle Job just got a little bit ambushed there. Tried to run it around the outside, couldn't do so. Went for the switchback move, but got caught out on the apex. Now, will Juggernaut have had a run up towards T1? Let's see. No, Ronin's down to 5th place. Juggernaut going around all the way around the outside. A little bit of contact there between the two cars. And look at this absolute cluster of cars behind those Beetles being very strong. Not in qualifying, but in the race. Of course, we've still got the issue between Bubo and Spooky, which is probably holding up Gadget. And Berkey and Ricey aren't far behind. The pack is still very tightly held together. Ricey with a nice move down the inside there. Meanwhile, Blue Racer down the inside, looking much racier at this point than TX3 Jack, who was being consistent but not particularly fast, and it's actually the two cars on the soft tyres currently out in the lead. Oh, a little bit of contact there between the two of them. Does anyone have damage at this point? No damage for TX3 Jack, no damage for Blue, no damage for Bottle or Jaganat. Ronin has really dropped back, no damage for him, so after last week where there was some issues, no damage for either of Spooky or Bubo, who are amazingly actually having quite a tight race, even though they can't see each other. Gadget has managed to make it through a lap without damage. This is amazing. He's usually the first person to get caught out with damage. Then we've got Ricey up in P9, Berkey in P10, and Muller down in P11. But we're going to head back out with our leader. It's TX3 Jack leading from the front. Let's see what the lap time was. It was a 52.5, so not particularly strong first lap, but of course he did get attacked by Blue Racer, and that Blue Racer of course will have the worst tyre wear. Bottle Job staying with them. If he can protect those super soft tyres and not burn them up too quick, he should be able to stay close. He's only 8/10 off that lead. Jaganat, who I thought was going to be really strong, has really faded at the start. He might be able to come back later in the race, or later in the stint. Ronin there in P5. Bubo in P6. We're going to switch camera style. That is Bubo shaping up at a move. On board with Ronin over the rear wing. Thrustmaster sponsorship there. Other steering wheels are available. And Bubo now having a look. There's an opportunity into this corner, but it's not easy to pull off. It's kind of more of a useful one to kind of make your opponent go in a little bit too deep. As we're now on board with Bubo, hunting around, sniffing at that rear wing of the Mercedes, but it's not easy to follow here. You can get quite a lot of wash through the horseshoe, but a great run there. Will he have a look down into the tight hairpin? He's right on the back bumper. Ronin is covering it well. He's going to hope that Ronin outbrakes himself, which he does, but Bubo runs into the back of him. Is that going to be damage for either car? Nothing on either car. That was lucky. It's very easy to get damage in these cars. Gadget has managed to get past into 7th. Spooky seems to have had a problem. Where is Spooky? Lukey on the track. He's all the way down in last position. Doesn't have damage. It must have just run wide. That is P11 for Spooky. Of course, our second place driver in round 1. Back at the front, TX3 Jack stays in the lead. His tyres looking fairly comfortable. Actually, Blue Racers aren't looking too bad. A little bit more wear on the rear, and of course that is going to get more and more exacerbated as they go through. Every time he slides a little bit, it gets worse, and they're more likely to slide, so he takes more damage off the tyres. So there's more sliding, and it can be a real problem. Bottle Job doing a fantastic job at the moment, up in P3. Of course, it's usually up and looking around in those top half of the positions, but he's really looking good as they head through the long left-hander. And this is where the Jag isn't going to be so strong, but it's keeping up with that Mercedes. Jaganat has managed to pull away from the battle behind, with Ronin and Bubo having a right old ding-dong fight here. Ronin's run a bit wide. Bubo goes for the cutback underneath, but he's going to be on the outside for the next braking zone. Can he get it run through there? He does. That's a great move by Bubo. And now Ronin is going to come under fire from DJ Rice, who of course these two were in a tight battle last season in Tier 2, with Ronin being a little bit quicker, but Ricey being really consistent to pick up those points when one of the kind of top 3 drivers made mistakes. Gadget isn't far behind. Of course, he's been pushed down a little bit from where he started. Berkey staying with them in 9th position, hoping to possibly pick up some scraps, because if there's a big incident here, we could be looking up into P5 for Berkey baby. You never know what can happen. Bubo is starting to pull away though. Ronin's starting to struggle on those super soft tyres, and maybe that's why TX3 Jack has gone for the soft option as we head back towards the front. And at the moment, JJ still out in front. I am going to keep calling him JJ. I do apologise for that. Blue Racer starting to get more wear on those rear tyres. Bottle Job now looking stronger at this point, really strong through that final sector. Can he get on the power? Well, we're going to go on board with the made for bottling driver. Of course, Blue is going to be protected a little bit by the slipstream in front. Blue making a little late move there, a little bit naughty, but not completely illegal. Bottle going for a half-hearted dive there. He needs to be more aggressive if he's going to go for it. Make the pass with more conviction, let's say. Not more aggression, not a dive bomb, but be more convicted. Some more conviction as we're going to go back to the external view. They're side by side through the fast left-hander. Of course, Blue had the inside there, but Bottle now has the inside there. But Blue had the better exit. But they're still side by side. Jack and Spell have been brought right back into this. TX3 Jack's now managed to pull away, but I think possibly if Bottle can get away from the what's going to become very interesting to drive Huracan, and again he's a little bit wide on exit there. Can Bottle hang it all the way around the top of the horseshoe, then cut underneath and get the better exit? He's going to have to really work on that exit, get it down towards the hairpin, set him up, but not quite close enough. TX3 Jack still not pulling particularly far away. He's obviously not feeling particularly strong on those tyres at this point, but he might get faster as the race goes on. And there is Jaganat, the car which I do think might be fast enough to win this race. Further back, we've still got a great battle here between Ronin and DJ Rice. These two have a ding-dong. Berkey is up to P8. Gadget has shredded the front tyres on the Beetle. What is going on there? A man who's normally incredible on tyres. He's even took a lot of fuel out of the car. So what's happening here? Taking far too much out of those front tyres to be able to be competitive. A great drive from, I'd say, Berkey Baby coming up from 10th place. Great work from him. Staying with Ronin, who is definitely one of those drivers coming into this season we're expecting to be battling for podiums every race, and at the moment he's not really showing that sort of pace. So we're back at the front. TX3 Jack starting to break away now with the battling between P2 and P3. Look at the state of those rear tyres. Look at the sideways moment there for Blue Racer. He's starting to really shred those tyres. He's still got the turn in, but it's only a matter of time before those tyres goes off. We are now on lap 6 and some of the strategy will now come available. And it's actually Jagger now having the attack on Bottle, having a great run through there. Bottle runs wide. He's going to have to make sure he keeps it off that curb. It can be lethal, that curb. He does keep it collected. But now it looks like Jagger, who's been looking after those tyres well, is starting to come back towards Bottle. Bottle went for the big attack, and at the moment it's not really working. Will he now let Jaganat go? No, he's going to fight him, take the middle line through the horseshoe. And Jaganat hasn't got enough front tyres available. And Blue's gone off! Blue has gone off! I said this might happen. We're going to jump back. Where is Blue? Here he is. Let's see if we can find out what happened there. He was taking that risky line I was talking about, and he got out on the grass, and that is a right mistake there. What an absolute error there from Blue Racer. Of course, the champion from, there we can see, just snapped on him, and that is all she wrote, as they say. That's going to be damage on the rear right and the aero, so that's one of our likely podium position drivers in terms of pace taken out, and he's now making an absolute mess of it all for everyone behind, because of course his car's got the damage. So Blue Racer in the pits. The car is actually in there. There we go. Fairly short stop for not taking too much time. A little bit of a error there between what was happening on screen and what we saw. But now he's 22 seconds off the lead. So even though the pit delta isn't as bad here as some tracks, that's still a very long pit time. So we're going to jump back up to the front. In all that, Jaganat is into P2. Berkey Baby is in P3. What has happened here? We were so busy looking at what was going on, and the race is suddenly strung out massively. TX3 Jack in P1, Jaganat into P2. Looks like maybe Bottle had an error, but we're not seeing any damage for Bottle at this time. So what has happened here? Fortunately, it all kind of happened and kicked off while we were trying to work out what's happening with Blue. Bubo's up to P5. P6 is Ronin, who got caught up in the mess. Then we've got DJ Rice, who was also probably caught up in the mess having the battle. Gadget's in P8 with a fresh set. Ah, we've had pit stops. That's what I've missed. That is what I have missed. I do apologise for, again, my awful commentary skills. So yes, it is an outlap for Gadget. We've got outlap for Rice, outlap for Ronin, I would guess. Bubo might have stayed out. No, he pitted as well. Berkey is in P4 and pitted. Bottle is in P3, he pitted. TX3 Jack has pitted, and Jaganat has stayed out. So Jaganat's going for at least a 3-stop, possibly a 2. TX3 Jack has come out and stayed ahead of Bottle, but he's going to be on the cold tyres. Will Bottle be able to get close enough to have a run? Bubo has also come out and made good progress there in P4. Berkey is now dropped down to 11th. So we missed the pit stops due to the issues that Blue was having. And actually, let's see where Blue is on the track. So he's in P9. He's just behind Muller, who has pitted. So this is all racing for position. And Muller, as we all know, is one of the hardest drivers to overtake. And already Blue making an error there behind, that snaking that car around. He's on the super soft tyre now. So I wonder if he's switched strategies. So Blue Racer, of course, has come into this season in Tier 1 as the reigning Tier 2 and before that Tier 3 champion when he was in Tier 2. So a lot of expectation on his shoulders, but he's got to kind of settle down here. He's made an error here. He made an administration error last time out, so he can't afford to have a bad race here. Otherwise he would have basically wasted his two drops early in the season. So Jaganat still out in P1. TX3 Jack in P2. Bottle not being able to close in at this time. Can he manage to find a little bit more pace from that super soft shod Jaguar? Possibly the final season for the van-sponsored car, as the deal with Vans may be ending at the end of this season and new colours coming for Bottle Job. Lubo Lubo up in P3, looking very quick. I said this car was quick, and that just a bad qualifying was holding our points leader back. Jaganat in P4, of course he's just pitted and has relinquished the lead, but he is going to be on a slightly different strategy. He's on kind of a traditional 3-stop. Can he make that work? He definitely looked fairly racy at the end of that stint before the pit stops for the other drivers. There's Ronin in P5, already starting to do some serious damage to those front tyres. Ricey, who's done a serious amount of damage to his fuel, but is looking fairly comfortable on the tyres at this time, and will be probably a little bit quicker than Ronin because of that. Gadget, who has both eaten his fuel and is already eating his tyres. Beetle, whilst quick, isn't looking particularly good on the tyres. Spooky, who is now the driver ahead of Blue. It looks like maybe Muller made a mistake and is now being harried for 10th position by Berkey Baby, who's on the fresher tyres. A little bit of a yellow flash there for Berkey, using the classic Plucks the Duck flash to pass method. Not quite made it work. He's actually managed to slightly outbrake himself there, but Muller hits the curb there, which can throw you right off. We've got two battles down the order at the moment, Spooky, Lukey and Blue. Can Blue find a way past Spooky? I think it's going to be difficult to do, because it's all about getting a good exit at this track when you want to set up the overtaking, and Blue's got a car which is going to get much less good at exits over the course of the race. So we're back on board. Currently it is TX3 Jack with the fastest lap of the race, a 151.484, which is what he did last time around. He's currently looking fairly comfortable out front. This would, if he can carry this on, he will be looking fairly comfortable. Bottle Job up in P2. A great drive from him so far. It's just to keep it nice and consistent. And Bubo under threat from Jaggernaut. I said this car was going to be quick. Jaggernaut, of course, having the problem of being stuck in the traffic. It's currently 6 seconds off the back of Jack, and this battling is going to throw him further away. So we'll see what he can do. The green car with the kind of neon yellow wings going round the outside. Now this is bold. He's been run right up the top of the course. Can he manage to make it stick? No, Bubo has got the line back, but Jaggernaut carries the momentum around the outside. Now he's going to try and whisk it all the way. No, he doesn't have the overlap. Now he's trying down the inside, but he breaks early. But will Bubo have broken too late? He's going to go for that nice tight line, get the power on well. We're going to cut on board now with Jaggernaut in the battle for P3. He's lost 9/10, almost a second to the leader on this lap. Bubo's doing an excellent job of making it an absolute nightmare for Jaggernaut at this point. Oh, there's every bit of Jaggernaut probably wanted to try and send it up the inside there, block pass, but this is not the end of the race. You can't get away with that sort of manoeuvre at this time. Cost yourself 50%, but he has gone for the big dive there. So we cut back off board. Bubo's going to have the exit, of course, but Jaggernaut's got the better tyres. Can't make it work. It's so easy to get the cut back here, especially with these long straights. Jaggernaut this time tries to get a wheel down, but now he's going to be on the outside for the right-hander, forcing himself back across, forced Bubo out wide. That was aggressive but well measured, knew exactly where his car was. Bubo also gave him enough space, didn't try and kind of make it difficult, but now Bubo's back up the inside doing a great job here. This is a fantastic battle we've got for P3 and P4. I want to know what's going on in the rest of the race, but right now this is a fantastic battle between these two drivers. So we're going to quickly catch back up with Ronin and DJ Rice. Bubo's still holding on, of course. Gadget in P7. Spooky harried by by Blue. This is another great track. And now Berkey, who's got past Miller. We missed that, unfortunately. But Berkey having a look at Blue, who's all over the place on those old tyres. Those tyres which are already falling to pieces. Look at those rear tyres, already about 20% worn at the rear. But he's got that, a little bit of a bump there between the two drivers. It's getting very aggressive. You can tell Blue's a little bit kind of het up about his early mistake. And he's now, it's gone wide, but Berkey's gone wide as well. If Berkey had managed to tidy that up, that would have been an easy move, because Blue cost himself loads of time. Berkey went a little bit too hot into that corner. Blue sideways on exit out of the left-hander up the hill. This is where the Huracan's weakest, it seems. It doesn't quite have enough torque with that V10 compared to the V12. Will Berkey have a look? No, he won't. Berkey seems to be struggling with kind of the braking. This is going to sound really dumb, but the braking and the turning. But kind of braking late, getting off the brakes to turn back in and get the move done. He seems to lock up a little bit on corner entry. But it's Blue now. He's dropped off the back of Spooky. Now will Berkey have a run? Let's go on board. He's got the torque. He's got the power. Go on board. A little bit of sideways camera there. Oh, but Blue has got the line. Oh, and a big aggressive chop there by Blue to cover off the line. And then look at that oversteer again. Spooky's had an absolutely awful run through this lap though, and has really dropped back into the clutches of Blue. But we're going to have to go back forward with the drivers at the front. Jaggernaut now up into P3 ahead of Bubo. Bubo, who's fallen off a little bit. Has he got damage at all? No, just the front tyres are made of cheese. So Ricey now alongside with Ronin. This is another cracking battle. The gaps may have opened up a little bit between the all the drivers. But it's still an absolutely cracking race. And Ricey trying to stay ahead of Ronin. Ronin, goes for a bit of a dive. Was there contact there? Let's go back and see if we can find out. Let's find out. Go on board with Ronin. Seemed very close. no move was made, and I'm sure there's no damage between the two cars. Yeah, Ronin just was a little bit... Yep, there was contact. But Ronin lifted off and didn't try to gain the advantage or a lasting advantage there. So that's good. Ronin making sure he doesn't gain an advantage, as we see Ronin hasn't pitted. We've got pit stops coming up. Gadget back in the pits. I do apologise, I've forgotten how to push the right buttons. Spooky, I think, was in the pits. Blue... Yeah, Blue and Spooky come out the pits together. Then we have Ricey, who's pitted. And Muller 2, who has pitted. At the front, TX3 Jack comfortably out in the lead. Got a gap of 6 seconds ahead of Jaggernaut, who has closed that down. I said he would on those tyres, but I don't know if he's going to be able to close it down at the end of the race. Bottle Job, who's pitted, now 12 seconds behind Jack. Bottle Job putting in a fantastic drive at the moment. Ronin, of course, in P4 now, much better drive than last week in terms of his racecraft. He's seems, at least, of course I may have missed some things, but seems to have really taken on board the steward's comments from last time. But Bubo with the exit there, fantastic drive. Oh, Bubo, that was really badly timed. You know, I was just saying how Ronin was being really well behaved, and Bubo just sends one up the inside. I think that was really unnecessary. The two of them coming together, Ronin really not wanting to give up that piece of track. Neither car has damage. Expect Ronin in this time for tyres, though. Yep, he does peel in. Berkey on the old tyres as well. But he's going for a different strategy. Still got a couple more laps before he expects to pit. And Jaggernaut has just pitted, as TX3 Jack still hasn't pitted. He's going all the way to 30 minutes, I'd expect. But I'm surprised that Jaggernaut pitted, being that he had been closing down Jack. On the older tyres. So we'll have to see what was going on there later in the race. There is Bottle in P2. Bring up the tower. So currently we have TX3 Jack, Sir Bottle's Job, Jaggernaut, Bubo Lubo, Berkey Baby, Gadget, Spooky Lukey with Blue still right up behind him. Ronin in P9, who's just pitted, comfortably ahead of Ricey, who I expect has probably taken a bit of fuel. And Muller down in P11. So we'll see what TX3 Jack does this time. I expect he's probably going to stay out and get to around the 30-minute mark, but of course I don't know for certain what he's up to. He might come in, try and cover off that undercut that Jaggernaut now has. And no, he stays out, comfortable on those soft tyres, and putting in reasonable lap times of a 1:53.2 when you consider he's been on those tyres now for some time. Bottle Job in comparison, putting in the 1:51.7, so really closing down that gap, but of course he has pitted. Oh, Bottle Job! Can he cover it up from the wall? Yes, he can! Well, that was a save. A shame, because that really kind of put pay to his charge he was having and has allowed Jaggernaut through, who was on the fresher tyres. But a fantastic recovery, kept it out the wall. Kind of reminded me of that famous Verstappen catch in Brazil. Of course, that was in the wet, but still a fantastic catch. And carries on, no damage, lost a few seconds, but can carry on. And probably will still maintain his chance at a podium. Jaggernaut, on the other hand, is probably looking at that and going, yes! One extra car I don't have to try and overtake. We'll have to see how that goes. It's 11 seconds, so he's taken around a second, I think, out of Jack. Of course, that 150.0 was an outlap. So we'll have to see how Jagganat's lap times stack up when he's in the actual an actual hot lap. I just want to see what Jack's going to do this time by. That car is starting to look like more and more of a handful. And he does pit this time. So it's around 11 seconds, 32% fuel. He'll be probably okay with that. He'll probably not take any fuel on board. No, he does. Takes just a splash. That is Jagganat up into the lead. Bottle probably would have been in the lead as well. Probably had done enough if he hadn't made that mistake. So that's a real shame for Bottle. Jack's probably going to be kicking himself that he took that fuel. Those extra couple of seconds have now actually cost him his chance of having the fresh tyres. Jagganat, I was saying about good pace. He has now taken the fastest lap of the race. Not by a huge margin. And I expect TX3 Jack will be able to take that back. He's now again back on those soft tyres. Like I say, it's very interesting because Bottle Job of all the cars here, of course, has lost those 5 seconds in the spin, and he probably would have been in the lead by around 5 seconds. Bubo in P4. A good recovery drive so far, just outside the podium positions. Berkey Baby still in P5, making the very, very long stint working for him. Helped by the fact that Spooky Lukey is still out there as well, and he's holding up Gadget, who's got Blue Racer just behind, who's got Ronin on the fresher tyres just behind. These two, of course, have got form. You know, they've been battling each other for 2 seasons. Will Ronin try and send one somewhere this time? We'll have to see. At the back we've got Ricey, of course, who took fuel, and Muller, who has not taken fuel for some time but also pitted a further ago. We're going to go back towards the battle at the front just quickly, just to see if Jack's got past, which he hasn't. So we're going to jump back on board with this battle for P6 between 4 cars, and we're halfway through the race. This is a fantastic race we're having so far, an absolute humdinger. Humdinger? Yeah, we'll go with that. I think that's a good thing. A fantastic battle. Spooky doing a great job of keeping the car pointed in the right direction, not skimming any walls even though he's got damaged tyres. Then we've got Blue Racer, who's got the pointiest front end of any car here, but he's got really damaged rear tyres. He's having to almost slide the car in there. So it is Blue Racer down the inside there of Gadget. And trying to go all the way around the outside, and he's made that work. Ronin on the inside, probably caught Gadget out a little bit there. Will Ronin try and go for a big dive down the outside? He does, but Gadget uses the block pass there, or the kind of the fact that his car was on the inside as a way of blocking. But here comes Ronin. Oh, but he hasn't got it. But Gadget makes a mistake, goes in too deep, and that is going to be corner 1 for Ronin, and the battle between Spooky and Blue continues once again. Ronin with the best tyres of these 3. Blue looking like he might have finally got the job done though. Probably caught Spooky a little bit unawares. Now what's going to go on? 3 wide. Ronin's got the best tyres. Spooky seems a little bit out of control but manages to get it pulled up. Blue now will finally have got 3 of these drivers. And now Blue is up to P5. P6 for Spooky, whose tyres are going off. P7 for Ronin. P8 for Gadget. Let's see at the front. TX3 Jack is now free of Jagganat. So we missed that this time by. I do apologise. Bottle Job in a secure P3. Bubo in P4. Bit of a gap now to P5. Blue Racer. I expect Berkey. Yep, Berkey has pitted and taken on an absolute chunk of fuel. going for that alternative strategy. I'm going to go back on board with that kind of mid-pack battle, so where is Spooky? Spooky in P10 right now. P11 right now, as Berkey does sail past, kind of comfortably ahead of Spooky. With probably enough fuel to get to the end. While Spooky also possibly has enough fuel to get to the end. Jack at the front definitely doesn't have enough fuel to get to the end, but he is running very comfortably at the moment out the front. And just give me a second, viewers, I just need to go and check something external to the stream, so be back in just 2 seconds. Apologies for that, viewers. As we go back on board with our leader, we'll just have a quick rundown of the race as it stands. So, fastest lap for Jack of a 150.9 and a 151.3 last time by, so looking very consistent out the front. We then have Juggernaut just behind, the number 92 car, doing a 52 last time, so falling away a little bit, but he is on the older tyres. In P3 we have Bottle Job, who has just pitted, taken on some fuel, and will be good for another, let's say, 6 laps, 7 laps, let's say. But he's definitely got at least one more pit stop left. P4 we have Ronin on the older tyres, in the mid 53s currently, so he's probably not going to be able to attack Bottle Job at this time, as we're on lap 19 with 24 minutes remaining. P5 we've got DJ Rice on the very old tyres, but managing to get himself back up the order. Boobo Lubo out on fresh tyres, just ahead of Blue Racer, who's also on the fresh tyres, but it's got less fuel in that Hurricane at the moment, so he's going to have to take a longer stop next time. Muller, who's got absolutely nothing in the tank and got old tyres on, so he'll be pitting probably at the end of this lap. We've got Berkey on the fresh-ish tyres with lots of fuel in the car, good to the end on fuel. Gadget just behind, and it's really not actually been that good a race for Gadget. Spooky going for a... oh, that was an optimistic move from both of them. And they need to just cool their jets a little bit, give each other a little bit more space. Spooky trying around the outside. And I really think Spooky needs to just take it back a step. Remember, there's 23 minutes of this race. That's trying to go down the inside, reminiscent of his move at the Nürburgring, which was very questionable. More contact happening between these two drivers. Gadget trying to run it long and wide through there. Does make it happen, but Spooky will have the better run on the exit as we head up towards. And there is a car in the pits, I believe. It is, I didn't quite see who that was. It was DJ Rice and of course Muller, who had no fuel. As we're back on board with this battle for 8th and 9th. Berkey Baby scampering away, these two still leaning on each other. Don't know if maybe Spooky Lukey can't be seen by other drivers, because this is very aggressive. More contact between the two of them. It's hard to tell. They're not really phasing between each other, but just really aggressive driving. We haven't seen this sort of aggression, at least from Gadget, for a very long time. Spooky is a little bit more prone to it. We'll go back on board with the swivel cam. Everyone ready to get some motion sickness. As we quickly check behind, we can see DJ Rice there. Back on board Down the inside. Oh, it's close. It's very close there for Spooky Lukey. Just holding on as we go into the horseshoe. Gadget going for that later apex, trying to get on the power early, but he touched the grass and Spooky Lukey's car is in the way. But here we go again this time. Will Gadget this time try and go for the move, or will he think better of it? He is on the brakes early. Spooky runs it not too wide, nice and clean from both the boys there. Good work. So we'll go back on board with TX3 Jack, of course, on those fairly old soft tyres now. He's back into the 52s now, which, when you consider the little amount of fuel he's got in the car, that is probably slightly concerning, but he will be pitting probably in the next couple of laps. Jagannat, who looks like he's, of course, just pitted for tyres. No, he's probably just pitted the lap before. 150.4. Bottle job there in P3. He too looks like he's just pitted. I did a 51.1, so yeah, he's just pitted. Fallen off a little bit from Jagannat, but he'll be pleased with the P3, I think, if he does stay there. Blue Racer currently up in P4. Really good recovery drive from the Lamborghini driver. He's just done a 151.6. And when you consider the amount of battles he's been in, that's excellent pace. Behind him is Bubo Lubo. Last time by did a 153.2. That's a pretty pedestrian lap when you consider the light fuel tank and the lack of tyre, well, at least very visible tyre wear on that Beetle. Berkey baby, back in the battle with Spooky Lukey. Of course, his tyre wear is probably the worst of these drivers, and he's got the most fuel on board, and that is an absolute pack behind him. Spooky Lukey has got about the same fuel, but a lot more tyre wear on the front. So maybe Berkey will be able to use that to his advantage. Ronin has got the freshest tyres and probably the most aggressive here. And maybe trying to go down. No, backs out of it. Very good move. This is a much... Oh, but Berkey goes a little bit deep. He'll have the power on, but he'll have to watch out. Ronin trying to go around the outside. Now cuts back to the inside, but he's got Gadget there and Ricey's there. This is absolute madness. The strategy has really been wide open. We don't know where any of these guys are going to finish at this point. Ronin having a look. Spooky runs into the back, I think, of Berkey there. Ronin tries to get a run through as well. Touches the side of Spooky. That won't be contact. That won't be damage-worthy contact. This is absolute madness. It keeps being every time there's someone on old tyres, no one can overtake them. Especially those drivers in the faster cars in a straight line. They just can't be overtaken. Spooky Lukey having another look now, probably at Berkey baby. Caught up. He's definitely got the better tyre. But put it this way. Ronin, who's on fresh tyres, just did a 52.7. That's about a second off where he probably wants to be. Berkey covering the inside lane. Spooky having to go around the outside. Gets pushed wide. Ronin gets the exit. Gadget having a look as well. Ronin now has the tyres probably to make this move stick. With Berkey not having any sort of toe. Berkey running the inside line. Ronin trying to go around the outside. He'll probably get him on the cutback line. Yep, he just gets the power on better. On board now with Berkey. Ronin down his inside. He probably should let this one go. No, but he tries to go for it. Leans on the Mercedes driver. And does make that one stick. That will be a little bit contentious there. Did manage to fight his way to the inside. Ronin now has the inside through the horseshoes. Got better grip. And Berkey just gets walked up the track a little bit by the lack of front grip. Gadget now up into P8. And will he be able to have a move at all into the tight hairpin? Gadget having a nice tight line through there. But Spooky getting a big kick of oversteer as he hooked it on the curb. And now it's going to fall into the clutches of Ricey. And actually, Ronin hasn't managed to pull that far ahead yet. And Berkey may have a little look into the hairpin. I wouldn't try it. Those tyres are looking a little bit worn. But Berkey really having a little go there, seeing if he could have a fight back. But Ronin definitely has the better tyres at this point. He'll probably pull away at this point. But this is madness happening at the front. Bear in mind, going back on board with TX3 Jack, who's still on that same set of soft tyres. Yep, that's a word. Soft tyres with no fuel in the car. Jagannat not too far behind, about 12 seconds, 13 seconds behind. Both these drivers, though, I believe, will have one more pit stop, but Jagannet does have more fuel. Bottle Job, a little bit further back, about 5 seconds back, 17 seconds off the lead. He too will have to pit one more time with the splash of fuel. So this currently is looking very comfortable for TX3 Jack, taking the I'm going to just go comfortably out in front and not worry too much about those around me. Blue Racer in the Lamborghini is going to have to pit in the next couple of laps because he's got no fuel left, but has definitely been putting in some hot lap times. We'll take a little look. Still TX3 Jack with the 150.9. That's the fastest lap of anybody. And Berkey actually has still managed to stay ahead of Gadget. This midfield, like back half of the midfield battle, has looked fantastic so far. Berkey, of course, who's got all the fuel he's going to need, but is he running to the end on those tyres? Gadget, on the other hand, absolutely out of fuel. And I don't know how much Berkey has been paying attention to that fact, but basically I think that's so much fuel difference that Berkey could take a set of tyres at this point, cover off Gadget, because he'll get the big old gap if he wanted to, but he doesn't know exactly what's going on with the drivers around him. Gadget's got 1, maybe 2 laps of fuel left. This is quite a fuel heavy track and the Beetle is quite thirsty. But it does have a fantastic engine note, helped by the fact, of course, it's got side exit exhausts, which are always cool. Back on board with Jack, who's still tootling around in that Mercedes. No front tyres left, no rear tyres left, but quite balanced tyre wear. And he is fairly comfortable at this time. He's doing a 153.4. Well, Jagannet, we'll take a quick look, is doing a 151.4. The gap is down to 10 seconds. But Jagannet, of course, does need to pit one more time before the end of this race. If he was okay on fuel and tyres, this would be a really spicy end to the race. Bear in mind, Bottle Job now. He's a little bit further off and will have to pit soon. So I think third place is probably the comfortable position for him. But still a strong P3, especially when you consider he had that little error that cost him around 4 or 5 seconds. Blue Racer up in P4, he'll have to pit very soon. Bubo comfortably in 5th, Ronin stretching away in 6th, and Berkey still in 7th. This is a great job here by Berkey Baby. Muller has come out of not nowhere, but a bit of a surprise. He's got very little fuel. Gadget goes wide, and that's going to really cost him because Muller is very hard to overtake, especially at a track like this, where it's all about corner exit and positioning. That's really going to get you that, those positions. But Gadget's kind of thrown that away. He had to look at P7. Now he's down to P9. And of course, we know he's got no fuel. Muller's got no fuel. So really, it comes down to, is Berkey going to take a set of tyres? Gadget is in this time. Does Berkey think he can get Ronin up ahead, who doesn't need to pit for fuel, but may take a set of tyres or may run this to the end? Jagannet now up to P2. Bottle in P3. Jack has taken a fair whack of fuel. What is his gap to P1? 8 seconds. The pit stop, I believe, is around 6.5, but I may be incorrect with that. But Jagannet will be able to come out fairly comfortably when it comes to tyres. If he sticks another set of supers on and absolutely goes for it, and Bottle stays out, that could deny a chance here for Jack. That's probably the only way Jack will lose in this race. That strategy of staying out that longer time, taking less stops, is working for him, because the pit stops are just about long enough and you can defend. Blue has been in for a new set of tyres. Bubo is about to be. Ronin up to P6, and P7 is still Berkey, of course, but are not finding a way past. But Jagannet goes by again, and Bottle is in this time. He'll need a splash of fuel and a new set of tyres. minutes left, just under 2 minutes per lap, so that's probably around 6 laps, just over. Possibly getting to lap 32. Probably getting to lap 32. Jagging there in P1. What is the interval to P2? We do not know right this time. Let's see if we can find out the gap from Jack's point of view. It is 6.8 seconds, so he's taken a couple of seconds out of him this lap. I think that's probably put Jack in a safe place for the lead, unless he makes a silly mistake. In P3 is Bottle Job, who's taken a fair whack of fuel. He is 22 seconds off the lead, and therefore about 15 seconds off of our net race leader, which is of course TX3 Jack. Boo Racer back up to P4 after Boobo pitted and dropped down to P6. That's a surprise. Ronan is good from fuel to the end as well, remember. So will he try and run to the end on those tyres and hold on to P5 if he can do it? The gap isn't exactly huge. Berkey has pitted from P7, now got a fairly comfortable margin to DJ Rice. And Berkey, of course, who started in P10, really solidly worked himself back up the field. Does anyone in front of him need any sort of fuel? Probably not. So Jagannath has come out, and that is a fairly large margin. I don't think he's going to be able to close that one down, unfortunately. Took on a bit more fuel maybe than expected. Gap is around 10 seconds. So it's been a really good drive from TX3 Jack there on the 3-stop strategy, making that work. Maybe the pit stop a little bit longer than some were expecting. Just going to try and hide that cursor off the screen somewhere. Don't really know why that's turned up. But there we go, got rid of it there. Sorry about that, that's been there for like half the race. So, TX3 Jack up there in P1, 9 second margin. Then we've got Jagannath in P2. Try and close that down. 6 seconds back is Bottle Job, and Blue Racer back in P4. Boobo in P5, comfortably ahead of Ronin. And won't need fuel. Ronin has just pitted for a fresh set of tyres, so he has decided to kind of bite the bullet there. Berkey Baby in 7th with Ricey not far behind in P8. Gadget on those older tyres and had to take fuel, and it seems really it was the fuel that's been the big differentiator here. Taking a lot of fuel, you know, each stop for each driver has really been what's cost them. Well, it seems like TX3 Jack has been leaning out that fuel a little bit, try and make the time back by not having to be stationary for as long. Muller in P10 on a fairly fresh set of boots, with Spooky not far behind him. Still battling, still trying to find a way. Still on board with our leader, TX3 Jack. This race was looking extraordinarily close at one point, but he's really kind of streaked away here on the soft tyre strategy, and that does seem to be one of those strategies that just seems to work here. Most tracks, the super, it does seem to dominate, but here the soft tyre is really strong. It just seems to always come good. It worked well for Dawson, if anyone remembers that race from here around, I think it was actually round 2 of season 2 last year, but in the Group 2 cars. And we had Tokyo East as round 1 of season 2 last year as well, so a little bit of continuity there. And we have Bottle Job in the P3 position. Okay, Bottle Job in the P3 position. Like I say, he made that one error, but I don't think that's particularly cost him. I think maybe Jagannath would have got back past him. And he's only 16 seconds off the lead, so that's a very impressive drive there from the made for bottling driver. P4 is Blue Racer, who has just... he made that early mistake and never really recovered. But P4 is still a great recovery for him. Just never really... he got stuck in that traffic and couldn't use the pace that he probably felt he had. Only 8 thousandths though off getting a fastest lap there, so that's still an impressive run in a very difficult to drive car. Bubo Lubo, currently our points leader, but won't be for long. Looking good there in the Beetle. Of course, the car that he was hoping for great things, and I think a P5 is a really good result. If he can hold on for another, say, 4 laps. Ronin there in P6. A really dogged sort of fight for Ronin today. Never really had like the overall pace, but definitely has looked good in battles. Really took on board, I think, what the stewards said to him. So a much improved kind of racecraft race from Ronin today. DJ Rice up into P7 ahead of Berkey, so really making those tyres last there and getting him back. See if Berkey can close him down up the hill. But a great drive from DJ Rice. Really kept his foot in it. Went for the slightly different strategy. But a really good return to form, let's say, for Ricey after a couple of bad races in Tier 1 when he left. He's really kind of got himself back in the right mental state, and it really shows. Great driving. Berkey just behind. It looks like he had a bit of a bad lap on lap 27, which is probably when the overtake occurred. But had, you know, solid pace when he was on those tyres. Made them last a really long time as well. Clever on the fuel, clever on the battles. Good drive for him. Gadget will be probably a little bit kicking himself. He picked this car specifically for this track. Looked good in qualifying, but just the tyre wear really has hampered that car just massively, and he's just hasn't looked comfortable, especially with battles as well. Spooky just didn't really have any pace compared to where he probably thought he should be. You'd expect Spooky Lukey up in the top 5, and it just hasn't really shown that today. Hasn't gelled with either the car or the track, hasn't had great balance. Muller has kept himself really in it. You know, could possibly get 10th here. And again, a classic kind of Muller style drive. Gritty, working the strategy, try and get himself up the order that way. But back up with TX3 Jack. And he wasn't happy with his qualifying times. He's got to be happy with his race pace. Really quite comfortable pace there in the low 52s, even though he pitted some time ago. So this must be lap 6 on those tyres, and he just doesn't seem to be falling off too quickly. Jaganat there in P2. Hasn't quite managed to keep those tyres looking as nice. The Super Soft's definitely falling off a little bit there. Bottle Job doing a good job there. Lots of lap times in the 51s, so again, nice consistent driving, not falling off too quickly on the tyres. Another refreshing crisp drink there. But not too many battles left on track. We're actually going to go back to that Berkey DJ Rice battle for now. So yeah, it looks like this battle will make it onto lap 32. Actually, I've just noticed Spooky back ahead of Gadget. So Gadget's tyres really letting him down. And Muller's probably look like he's trying to shape up a move here. His tyres in a lot better condition than Gadget's. Going around the outside, it looked like for a moment there. And here comes Gadget. As we're still on the stream here, doing some last couple of laps of this race. Of course, we were delayed by the DC, but great driving here from the guys at the back. So, can Muller find a way past Gadget? We'll have to see. Not looking particularly strong for him right now. He's going to have to try and find a way to close up. Oh, a little bit deep in there. Didn't quite get the messy exit. That's probably cost him a chance there. That's a shame. He was looking strong up until that point. The tyre wear and the dirty air. Not great there for Muller. So we'll go back to the external view. I'm just going to check one quick setting, so just give me a moment there, chaps. So back on air, sorry for that, just had one quick notification setting that I hadn't managed to turn off. Just wanted to get that off screen, just in case that did pop up. So TX3 Jack on what is going to be his last lap of the race, out in the lead. A great drive for him, 7 seconds ahead of Jaggernaut. Seems comfortable at this point. He can kind of stroke the car home, and he will have another Tier 1 win and will be leading the championship. Back in P2 we have Jaggernaut. Like I say, great drive from him. Was our pole sitter, but kind of got bogged down at the start with battles that he didn't want to probably be in. And that allowed Jack to get that breakaway from the start. Drove hard to get back up to P2 and kind of solidified that when Bottle Job made his error. Bottle Job, a comfortable 18 seconds up the road from Bubo, but probably a little bit disappointed to be 10 seconds behind Jaggernaut by the end. Of course, that spin that he had cost him probably about 4 or 5, maybe 6 seconds. So it could have made it interesting on that final stint, but he'll just be trying to bring that car home nice and safely. Bubo in 4th position, but has got Ronan not far behind, and Ronan is one of those drivers who will not give up until the last possible second. So let's see if he can close that in. Blue dropped right back down to P6, had an absolute shocker last lap. Really struggling. He's got almost no fuel in the car as well. I wonder if he's really low on fuel. I don't think he is. I think he'll be alright for the end, but wow, no pace there. Berkey also back ahead of DJ Rice. What happened to Rice? He's had a couple of absolute shockers of laps. So Berkey up to P7, trying to chase down Blue Racer, who just seems to have lost all his pace. Had a 55, a 56 and then a 59. Just about managing to hold on to that car, but it's still going to be an absolute madhouse. Jack takes the win, of course. Jaggernaut in P3, Bottle in P4. We'll watch over the line. Here's Bubo, and I said Ronan wasn't going to give up. He's right there. Can't quite be close enough to get a dive, but there'll be P4 for Bubo Lubo. Ronan in P5, P6 for Blue Racer, unless he makes a mistake out the exit. Oh my word, I thought that was going round on the final corner. Berkey not quite close enough to be able to capitalise, but still a great drive for him. DJ Rice in P8 after what's like a couple of bad finishing laps. Spooky P9, Gadget in P10, and Muller will just finish off the back in P11. But what a fantastic race there. Congratulations to our race winner TX3 Jack. Jaggernaut in P2 with Bottle Job P3. So that is our race result. We've got TX3 Jack there in first place, Jaggernaut in P2, Bottle Job in P3. That notification is popping up again. That is a shame. That was supposed to be off. And then P4 for Bubo Lubo, Ronan in P5, P6 for Blue Racer, P7 for Berkey Baby, P8 for DJ Rice, P9 for Spooky Lukey, P10 for Gadget 334, and P11 for Muller CJ. TX3 Jack takes the best lap, fastest lap of a 150.930, and let's see if we can get some podium interviews. Just try and get some podium stuff sorted out. Sorry for that. Sorry for this. Not very good at the old multitasking. There we go. So we'll just see if we get any nibbles for anyone interested in an interview. But great drive there from our top three and everyone. That was a cracking race all round. And I'm sure there'll be lots to talk about. And hopefully not too many post-race stewarding inquiries. So we'll start with our P3 driver, Sir Bottlejob, for his podium interview, as long as he's up for it. Ah, the old talking. Yes, that is always a difficult thing to try and do. Parties I can join, that is not very interesting. So, start party. And we'll be starting, of course, with Sir Bottlejob, and then we'll hear from Jaggernaut, our pole sitter, and P2, and then finally TX3 Jack, the race winner. Hello, Jaggernaut. So we're going to start with Bottlejob when he gets into the interview party, but excellent to have you in so quickly. Here we go. It is. Bottlejob is just coming in now, so we're going to start with him once he's all coming through loud and clear. Yeah. So congratulations on your P3 bottle. I'm sure that was you're pleased with that result after what looked like a hectic race in there, and we'll start with qualifying. Good qualifying with that P4. Did you think there was anything more in the car, or do you think that was kind of the maximum you could get? Fair enough. So the start, it looked like a bit of a hectic one. You looked like you had a chance for possibly the race lead there, but we saw obviously a very bold move by Jack down the inside of Blue Racer. Were you hoping to try and sneak the lead, or were you happy to kind of sit back and see what was going to happen? Fair enough. It did look very hectic out there. Of course, I'll turn to Jaggernaut shortly about what happened at his start. But of course, he had the pole, and it definitely we can't hear them. Sorry, Bottle. We're gonna have to restart this in a minute. I need to sort this out. 1 second. I've made a boo boo. Where is the audio stuff? Sorry, everybody. I'm rubbish at this. There's always an audio setting I miss. It's a sharing setting. Give me just a moment. Thanks for the heads up there. 1 second. Where is it? Sharing and broadcasts. There we go. There we go. Right, everyone should be able to hear you now. I just want to
Testing. 1 2 1 2.
Hopefully that will be everyone back on board. So, we'll quickly go back to the original question. I do apologise that this is going to lengthen the stream slightly. But, so qualifying was successful. Got everything that you thought you could out the car with a handy slipstream. And then the race start was a little bit hectic. Hoped possibly to get to that inside line, but you got a little bit squeezed on the exit. I'm guessing you were fairly pleased when you saw Blue Racer's Lamborghini stricken by the side of the road. I'm sure that probably helped.
Yeah. Yes, I watched it right in front of my eyes. I watched it unfold, and it was spicy.
It definitely seemed so. We were watching that very intently, and then it was just as all the pit stops happened, and it looked like him rejoining had caused a massive incident, but actually it was just the pit stops. But
kind of esque Muller at Sardinia B. I think was it last season or was it season 6 last year in the Group 2s?
Yes, very similar. Sort of what could have occurred. Not an easy one to manage, of course. He did the best he could with the stricken Lamborghini. But I'm guessing at that point you were thinking... I do apologise for that, everybody. I'm guessing at that point you were hoping for the P2.
Yeah. I would probably say hoping for the P2. I think I knew I wasn't going to be fast enough to challenge Jack for the leads, or I was scared. I was scared of dragging up behind to try and go which might join to third, which did end up playing out. After the second round of pit stops, that was quite clear that I was going to drop to third, even without spin. But yeah, I think second place hopeful, third place realistic at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the spin was really well caught, to be fair. It looked like that was going to be curtains, and especially when you consider it was T1 in a front engine car and you were spinning towards a wall.
Just got the rear wheel slightly onto the grass, and that was it. Yeah,
it definitely looked quite challenging, but obviously that kind of helps you out in the championship. Obviously, last race you were never going to be up the front with the car, but you've obviously had a great result considering that car. This really kind of solidifies you into that kind of top of the midfield sort of battle. Where are you kind of aiming for the season? Is it kind of top 5? Is it top 3? Championship?
In my quote for the Spotters Guide, I think I was a bit optimistic to try and attempt for P3 overall, but then that was not kind of taking into account that all the changes with you and Alex going in on sabbaticals, Kuska and Kuska, Blue and Ronin coming up from tier 2. I think now I can see the kind of driver list. I think probably 4th, 5th, probably what I'm going to be aiming for.
Fair enough. And looking at the remaining tracks on the schedule, obviously we've got most of the tracks still remaining. We haven't gone to the Group 2s, which of course is your best category. Is it one of the 2 Group 2 races you're most looking forward to, or is there something else that really...
I think I'm going to be able to get a very good handle on both of the Group 2 races, and then of course with the hybrid LMP, a very good shot at Santa Croix C reverse, and then the Jag at Monza No Chicane. So as normal, everything apart from Group 4.
Yep, not surprised there. So thank you very much for stopping by for the interview. We're going to move on to Jaggernaut now, and we'll see what happens next time out for yourself. But congratulations on another great race.
Yep. Thanks for commentating. I'm sure you did a great job. I'm going to be looking back through the stream once I finish tonight. And goodbye.
Thank you very much to Bottle there. So, Jaggernaut yourself, fantastic pole lap. I'm sure you were kind of hoping for a little bit of a better start. You kind of got yourself forced out on that outside, were you hoping to try and like come across onto the inside, or was the Hurricane alongside too soon for you to be able to make kind of that Schumacher-esque chop to the inside?
Well, to be honest, the start wasn't gonna be a strong point for me tonight because I know I would drop back a few positions, but I think I dropped even more. So
yeah, you were down in 6th, I believe, at one point.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So
yeah, just I think you basically. Oh, we've lost the room, so we'll just put some images up of some cars in a minute. But yeah, you were down a little bit further back probably than expected, and did it take a lot of kind of self control not to panic and kind of
exactly.
try and pick?
I was only thinking about catching the top 3 because I wanted to stay with them, because if not, there would have been a gap and it would have been more difficult with the battles to stay with them. So I'm glad I managed to stay with them at the beginning.
Yes, no, definitely. You got a little bit lucky, I think, with the battles that you were in, that you managed to kind of get through them cleanly, and then also you had the advantage of course, the GTR is excellent over a stint, it seems. Were you expecting?
It felt good, at the track.
Were you expecting the GTR to be so good, especially on its front tyres? You seem to, compared to JJ, I was a little bit surprised that you pitted first, actually, because you seem to really come back at him in that early stint.
You mean at the first stop?
At the first stop. I thought you were going to be running longer than him, because you did seem to have a lot of pace at that point compared to JJ. So I'd be interested to know if it was.
Well, my plan was to do 8 lap stints, but to do 3 stops. But I was scared by how much Bottle was catching behind. So I thought I would, follow his strategy and go back to 4 stops.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if I could have challenged Jack. I don't think so.
I think it was very close, actually. I think Jack was definitely quicker on the early parts of the stint, but I do think you had a shot of being able to stay with him at the end of the stint. That Mercedes did seem quite aggressive on its front tyres, while the G. Guessing you were running a fairly rearward brake bias on that car, and it seemed to.
Yeah, it was at +3.
Yeah, it seemed to hold on a little bit better. Obviously, you won't know this, but for comparison, the Beatles were absolutely awful on their front tyres. Really, really, surprisingly bad. So, I think the GTR really kind of did surprisingly well on its tyres. I didn't expect such great tyre life out of it. So obviously I asked this question to Bottle, but of course it's great having another driver on the podium after last week, it not quite working out for you. Also, the car never going to be particularly strong where it was. But obviously there's a couple of interesting tracks coming up. You've got Suzuka in Group 4, you've got Brands Hatch in the Group 2s. What are you looking forward to in the season? Where do you think you get your best results?
I don't know where I could get my best results, but I'm definitely looking forward to Suzuka and Brands Hatch, as you said. It's nice tracks, and I like real tracks better. And I think I would be good at Sainte Croix in the Group 1 later in the season.
Yep, the TSO 50 is very strong.
That's why I chose to swap my Group 1 car to be stronger.
Yeah, I don't like to, say I have much influence over the series, but I do feel like when we did that Group 1 parity test, obviously I had the Porsche 919, and it definitely showed the power that the hybrids had over a lot of the field. I think maybe a few drivers after last season as well moved towards the hybrids to kind of go for that track, because of course people who were going for the Tokyo wanted to to keep the top speed cars, but I think with this season and next season, a lot of people have moved over to those hybrid cars with Senqua coming, and the next season, of course, we've got Laguna Seca coming up, along with Barcelona. So, I mean, fantastic race, great P2. Of course, next week is Suzuka, where you won last year in the Group 2s. So I expect more great showings from yourself. But thank you very much for dropping by on the podium. And as I've said all season, I don't know for certain if I will be streaming every race. But if I am, I look forward to watching live.
It's nice to watch the streams after the race.
Yeah, there was a couple of interruptions in this one. It wasn't quite as clean, and I'm nowhere near as good as TX141 when it comes to the to streaming. But it's still enjoyable to watch the races without the stress of having to take part.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Right, catch you later. Congratulations again on P2.
Bye bye. Thank you.
So that leaves our race winner after a great podium last time out, back on the top step of the rostrum. Jack, how are you feeling after a very dominant victory?
I was expecting to do pretty well today because it's one of my favourite tracks, but I was expecting the Mercedes to struggle in qualifying because it's never like a one-lap car. It's always a bit slower in qualifying, and then it's good for the races because it's good handling and it's good on tyres and fuel and stuff. So.
Yeah, no, I think that definitely showed true. You know, we were seeing in qualifying, you really struggle with the with qualifying and with the Mercedes trying to get as much as you could out of it. And I know you weren't particularly happy with your qualifying lap, but I think it proved kind of the importance of just getting a banker lap in and just getting yourself up the order. Because say you hadn't got that last lap in and were stuck in 11th, the battling tonight, I mean, you didn't get to see much of it, but it was intense. People were stuck behind other people for laps. And I think you would have probably struggled to get back to the podium, not through a lack of pace, just through a sheer volume of cars you would have had to come through. So I'm sure you're pleased now with that P3 qualifying lap, with what it allowed you to do later in the race. Well, actually not even that late into the race. It was going to be my next question. That was a very decisive move down the inside of blue early on in the race. Were you really hoping to get past the Huracan early, or early enough? Because you knew it was going to be become more and more of a handful as the stint went on. Did you want to be out in front and give him the dirty air and kind of force him to burn up his tyres?
Well, I did all of those crazy overtakes on lap 1. I didn't mean to do any of them. Blue Racer was braked a lot earlier than I expected, so I had to swerve out to avoid punting him, and then that ended up being a benefit because I got past him. So
yep, you got past him and no damage for either of you, which is what we always want. After that point, did you think it was going to be Blue who was going to be your main challenge, or did you think either Jaggernaut or Bottle was going to come back at you?
Well, I know that Blue Racer was going to struggle to keep up because he's in the Lambo, which is really hard to drive and terrible on tyres. So, as you saw, what happened to him? I didn't see.
Oh, he through the horseshoe, the banked right-hander, he just got out of shape. He kind of touched the grass on the inside, then the car snapped, and then it threw him onto the outside grass. And for what that incident could have been, it wasn't so bad, but definitely, didn't help his race. Put it that way. I think it might have been closer. He might have been able to use the force stop more aggressively, maybe. I don't know for certain what his pace was like because for so much of the race he was in traffic after that point. So yeah, I think it was fortuitous for you, of course. Were you worried at any stage about Jaganat's kind of end of stint pace? Obviously, you went for that 3-stop, which was aggressive on the tyres. It definitely looked like they fell off quite quickly from their kind of natural pace. You were out of the 51s fairly early on in the kind of middle part of the race. Did you think Jaganat was going to be able to come back at you with the GTR, which seemed to be being a bit kinder to its front tyres?
Yeah, I was definitely expecting Jaganat to catch up with me and cause a bit of trouble, but I did a better strategy, I think, by doing less pit stops.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna go for a 2-stop because in the testing I did, the pit loss was, well, I thought it was 15 seconds, but then I must have been wrong because Bottle Job pitted and only lost 8 seconds, so
the pit stop time.
Change my strategy.
Yeah, the pit stop time seemed quite short for tyres, but the fuel seemed to be quite slow coming back in. That's what I was noticing. And you did actually a really good job on your fuel of kind of making it last and fueling late. So that was a really impressive drive. Obviously, we know you're always looking for kind of being at the front. Does this kind of really get your championship challenge back on track?
Well, after last season, I didn't have one good round, and that brought my confidence down a bit. And
I'd say Red Bull was a good round for you. You drove really well there.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
That was a really good race. I think the others. I think maybe you just got yourself in a little bit in your own head a little bit, and kind of didn't let yourself kind of relax into the race. And I think that's kind of the pressure of having the gold number on the side of the car. You're the one to beat, and that always is going to be more pressure. And it's just one of those things I think you have to learn to cope with. And I think this season you've kind of got that pressure back off of you. It's anyone's game to see who's going to be able to take that championship. So I think this is probably a better place for you. So I said this to the other two, but of the remaining tracks left on the schedule, which tracks are you most interested in, most looking forward to?
Well, normally I tend to be better in the slower cars, so Group 4 is normally my best, and Sardinia is my best track in the game, so that one definitely, and Suzuka is one of my worst tracks though, so...
I definitely am with you on the Suzuka being not one of my best tracks either. Between Alsace, Suzuka and Brands Hatch, that was kind of the trivante of tracks that made me not want to made me want to take the sabbatical this season, because those three are really not strong for me either. So I can completely understand why you are not looking forward to those. But I'm sure you'll do better than you expect. Like Group 4, yes, it's Suzuka, but the McLaren should still be strong there. It's a good balance of handling and power, so you should do pretty well there. And Sardinia, like I say, is your best track. So that should go pretty well for you. So do you think you can push on and push for the title, or do you think some of the others are going to come back at you?
Well, I think I've got a chance, but it's going to be a challenge. I think me, Bubo and Spooky are going to be the ones battling for the championship this season.
Well, I mean, Spooky didn't have a great race today, so I expect he'll be licking his wounds, and we'll see what happens next time out. But thank you very much for coming and having the interview. Congratulations on the win, and I'll catch you next time.
Thanks. Good night.
So, thank you very much all for watching the stream, coming on board with us. Congratulations to everyone who took part, and especially to our top 3. We'll catch you again, possibly for next round. But thank you very much for watching, and good night.